All right, let's keep the conversation going with foreign policy expert and geopolitical analyst Harley Lippman. Okay, so Harley, we've seen a war that nobody thought would last this long. Nobody thought the Ukrainians would be able to hold out against what was formerly assumed to be a world power. How much longer can this go on from either side?
It could go on for quite a while. And I think the way to come to a quick end is to make sure that we give Ukraine all the tools that it needs to win the war. And then when they win the war, there will be peace and this will be over. And I think that's what's critical. Specifically, Congress should pass the Enablers Act. It's a bipartisan bill that will tighten the screws on Russia by denying them access to money and goods that they're getting through holes and leaks in the sanctions right now. Through real estate, trusts, and private equity, Russia is getting money and oligarchs are keeping money that is supporting Putin. So we need to support this bipartisan bill.
Yeah.
Now, the European Union announcing a new round of sanctions on Russia, as you mentioned, aimed at military as well as political leaders. Now, will these have any type of impact?
It will. At the end of the day, if a country is going to lose, they're going to lose. If Putin is seeing that he can't prevail in Ukraine, then that is going to be victory for Ukraine. So it's important that we stay firm behind Ukraine because the stakes are enormous. You know, if you think of the world before World War II, this is the history of the world for thousands of years, where a big, powerful nation takes advantage of a weaker nation next to them and invades them. So we need to make sure that we keep this world order, so to speak, so that we don't encourage other nations, because other countries are watching this. They're looking to see where are the red lines they could cross. And if Russia succeeds with Ukraine, they won't stop with Ukraine. I've never seen in history, I've never read or heard of a dictator that was successful in conquering a country and then just stopped. They'll continue. And it will also send a signal to China that they could go into Taiwan and other countries that have grievances with their neighbors. It will also embolden them to take military action. And you're going to have a catastrophe in the world.
Yeah.
So the stakes couldn't be higher.
Well, I'm glad you brought up China because, I mean, I think China's watching this and not saying whether or not they should do Taiwan. They're just adjusting the strategy of how. I think that's in their mind. But the bigger thing is the START treaty, the nuclear arms deal between America and Russia that basically says we're not going to test anymore. We can only build limited amounts. We're not going to put them on munitions. Are you worried about Russia, I don't know, even testing a nuclear weapon?
I don't think so. You know, this is a bluff. You know, they're like a big bully. You have to call their bluff. And I don't think that they are going to use nuclear weapons whatsoever. And if they do, there'll be consequences for Russia.
What are those consequences, though?
Well, I think the consequences will be that we will probably do something dramatic as well, and it may be nuclear. So I don't think Putin is looking to commit suicide. As long as we're not trying to change the regime in Russia, Putin has an off-ramp. So that's the critical thing. We're not trying to overthrow him. If we were trying to do that, then I could see how Putin could be tempted to maybe use, as you point out, let's say a tactical nuclear weapon as a show of strength where he may then use a more formidable nuclear weapon afterwards. That would be the fear. But you could be held blackmailed by that. I mean, if they use that in any crisis around the world, we would be paralyzed. Oh my God, we can't do anything. They have nuclear weapons. Oh my God, they may use it. Well, Russia has had nuclear weapons now for about 80 years. It hasn't been used. We've had nuclear weapons for 80 years and we haven't used it, even when we lose a war like Vietnam. So I think we have to take that off the table and not allow a bully to do that. And I think it's just a big bluff.
Speaking of bullies, you have China. They have a strong alliance, clearly, with Russia. They announced this so-called a peace plan. I wonder, though, is this peace plan a way for China to help Russia, Vladimir Putin, kind of save face? And do we even buy?
Yeah, limp through it.
Yeah, right. To like say, hey, you know, here's China asking for peace. And then, of course, Zelensky, he's also saying, you know what, I'm here to discuss a peace plan. But honestly, does anybody buy what the Chinese Communist Party is selling? These are people that they've massacred their own people. There's literally a genocide going on as we speak with the Uyghur Muslims. What do you think, Harley?
I think we have to be firm with China. If they are going to supply Russia with far more weapons than Russia's getting now, we need to up the ante. We have the largest economy in the world. And then comes Japan and Western Europe, and they want to trade with the West. They want to take over the world economically. And if they see that the Western world stands up to them with our allies in Asia and say to them that if you're going to do this, we are going to boycott China, that we are going to put sanctions on China. I think if they are going to pay a price for this, they will back down. It's like anything else. Right. You know, appeasement never works. You just have to be firm. And I think we'll get peaceful outcomes.
All right. Well, let's hope for the best here, Harley, because we're, you know, Americans don't want to obviously spend the money. And we certainly don't want Ukrainians dying over their own territory. So we appreciate you being here this morning.
Well, thank you.